Another year has come and gone. I made 49 videos this year. My pedometer app tells me I've taken 5,391,867 steps, plus whatever I managed to get in tonight in the wild gyrating dance I do to accompany the blasphemous New Year's rituals we observe in my sect. I fixed about 130 guitars this year. Does that sound like a lot or little? It's not a whole lot of basic setups in that count, by the way. Most of those are multi-day, nerve-wracking endeavors with valuable instruments, some of them worth more than my car, and many of which you did not see. There are some guitars I can't show because the owners aren't into it, or I don't figure I can film what's going on in such a way that it provides insight or entertainment, or there literally isn't time. Speaking of time, I worked a total of 339 days. I actually had a vacation this year, which is my first since 2018, and I'm probably going to take another vacation in the coming year too, because despite what the captains of industry tell us all, I think they may actually be beneficial. I answered a total of 2,891 emails regarding repair inquiries. With an average of 2 minutes per interaction, that's about 96 hours talking to folks all over the world about their guitars. Most of the time, those conversations, by necessity, are pretty short and sweet. Other business. Don't try and friend me on Facebook. For anyone under 60, that platform is dead. It's reserved for people who mostly ignored us during high school and haven't talked to us since 2008 when they friended us. I don't like that platform for a number of reasons, based mainly on the personal info collection and what they've managed to do to society, but also the messaging system does weird things like not show me a message for 11 months and then suddenly give me the notification. It's also erased my message history. So if we talked about repair on there at some point and I ghosted, I probably didn't mean to. On to good things. Thank you to everyone who reached out and offered to help me with the graphic design for my new merch. I think I got that settled. I'll get on that as soon as time permits in the new year. Also, thank you to those who took the time to lend a positive word of encouragement. I see you and I appreciate you. I know the character I play in these videos leans towards the curmudgeonly, but I'm actually kind of a sentimental guy at heart. And it's not lost on me how great it is to be part of someone's life through their monitor screen and share a few minutes with you every week. With the impending new year, I like to spend a couple of hours tidying up and making something useful for the shop or doing some upkeep. You don't often see a lot of my shop because it was not designed to be camera friendly. Time that could be spent tidying and improving is more often spent editing videos. And I don't want to become one of those channels that starts to focus more on building shop infrastructure than actual production. I've seen a number of people go down that route, and it always makes me a little bit sad. This, friends, is Adirondack spruce, red spruce. And let's ruminate on it as a vehicle for the concept of a new year and the passage of time. First off, this is not your average Adirondack spruce that's available through Lutherie suppliers today. If you order soundboard material, oftentimes the grain count can be as much as 4 lines per inch, 1 line every 6 millimeters. And it's often extremely variable across the board. There's a reason that Martin stopped using Adirondack in 1946. The trees were no longer there, and the conditions that provided for first-rate guitars no longer existed in those forests. It takes a dense, healthy forest about 1.5 centuries to produce a soundboard of red spruce, and even then it's a rare occurrence. Only on protected land are there any pockets of spruce growing these days that make it kind of possible. Now this is old stuff. This is a tree that grew and came down probably before I started making guitars in the 90s. The grain is straight, the lines between late and summer growth are pretty close together, and we prize this consistency. The strength and resilience that comes from one year following the next in a slow, steady, incremental growth year after year, decade after decade. That's what produces a high-quality board. We can probably say the same thing about human skill, too. I often get asked by inexperienced but enthusiastic people how to fix their broken guitar, and I struggle not to tell them that it doesn't matter if I give them the steps in sequence, because some of this stuff you can't do the first time. It might take 10 years of learning before you're ready, and you can't skip the intervening growth rings. Each one builds on the last, right? Each of these rings is important. So every time I do a question and answer period, I get asked, how do you take the neck off a $10,000 guitar without being scared? The thing is, if you've done it 100 times, you will have experienced a good many ways in which it can go wrong, and you're kind of prepared. We make a friend of those possibilities. Beautiful as these boards are, they're not quite wide enough for a standard size guitar. And I'm faced with the prospect of not using the material at all, putting into something like a ukulele, or conceding that I need a piece for each side to make up a full width. For me, that's a pretty easy decision. I think I'm going to graft on a 1-inch section on either side of the board. So what am I making? Well, many of you will have stumbled upon my channel via a video that went viral a few years ago about my reconstruction of a guitar made by Canadian maker Arthur Hensel. And in ensuing years, you will have watched me as I've been exposed to a bunch more of those guitars. And I've seen the lovely material that went into their construction. And I've also seen the consequences of inexact measurements and basic flaws in the design, which have caused me no end of torment in trying to get them to play. I've also seen the price on them rise to what many would have considered ridiculous, given their humble origins. But I've had to save a bunch of them now through brute force and determination because people are thinking that they're worth saving. So I thought to myself, what if I took that design and changed it so it would work in a more appropriate way, with proper neck angles, proper fret positions, proper scale length, proper bridge pad placement, an adjustable saddle. So let's bridge that gap between the nice material that was used and a more serious attempt at quality. What's the difference between East Toronto and Nazareth, Pennsylvania in the 1930s? And how do I bridge that distance? For instance, what if a Martin employee showed up in the Hensel shop in 1938 and sort of nudged production in a different direction? So the guitars ended up cosmetically very similar, but in just another realm, if you know what I mean. I'm fond of the Hensel guitars and their design. They're the reason many of you have heard of me. And so I thought, well, I'm going to make a few of my own using them as a inspiration. They're going to cost a bundle because I'm done pretending about that. And I'm going to use some of those growth rings that I've been building in my own skill level to do it. I think some of you are going to get a kick out of it. So, friends, in summation, thank you for joining me in 2023 and all the adventures we had. And as we turn another page, I hope you'll walk with me confidently into 2024. There's already a whole bunch of repair work lined up and maybe a few other special projects like this one. So let's do our best to make it a good year, shall we?